Yo, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over saving and budgeting, how to do so, what it even means, etc., etc. So let's get right into it. I first want to start by saying if you don't have control over your money has control over you. So it is really important that we put a magnifying lens up to our savings, up to our systems about how we treat money. And I'm really going to be diving deeper into that in today's video. So what is saving? I like to think about savings as just the amount of money that we are able to keep, and budgeting as the system that we use to streamline our savings process. I want to keep today's video really simple because this is not something that is very complicated and it can seem very intimidating if you've never really built out a budget before or intentionally started saving. So before we get into the video, I do want to mention high interest debt before we go into actually saving. If you have any high interest debt, which is typically anything with an 8% or more interest rate, you want to really pay that off first before starting your savings journey, or really just building a small emergency fund before we go into kind of heavy savings. And I'll go into that a little bit more later. But if you have any high interest debt, anything over 8%, then you kind of want to pay that off first because the stock market typically yields about 8% per year conservatively. So basically paying off this debt is going to allow you to get an instant 8% or more, whatever your interest rate is on that debt, on your money. So if you do have high interest debt, then pretty much skip this and just start paying that down in order of highest interest debt. Anything less than 8%, there is an argument to be made that you should just invest that in the stock market or investing higher ROI vehicles for your money. And before we get into the how, let's talk about the why. So the savings first is going to be going into our emergency fund, which typically is about 3 to 6 months of expenses saved up for just unexpected expenses. This could be either medical bills, typically car maintenance, or just anything unexpected that life throws your way. We're going to be prepared for this. It's really going to take you out of survival mode, out of paycheck to paycheck mode, and enable us to look forward into the future instead of just being like, oh, any kind of hit would kind of take me out of the game right now. And that's how people build up pretty much like credit card debt, is because they just need money to kind of get out of the hole, and that creates a hole in and of itself. So we're going to start building this up with all these savings that we're going to have from our budget. And yeah, it's basically just going to give us a peace of mind for any unexpected expenses that might come out of the blue. And the second thing that we're going to be, after our emergency fund is covered, that is number one. And this can take a very long time depending on what your income is, what your savings rate is going to be. So I'm not trying to gloss over this, but that is basically all you need to know, is get your emergency fund set up. After this, we're going to be going over, or we're going to start transitioning all of this savings amount into investments, into things that are going to make our money work for us instead of against us. And this is going to be things like the stock market. It's going to be like crypto, or just basically paying off any high interest debt, like, and this is where we'll get into like additional principal payments on your house. Something that I've been doing recently, because my interest rate on my house is about 6.875%. So it's near the stock market, and I'll go over that in our mortgage or our renting versus owning video that I have planned out. So once we have an emergency fund built out, we are now going to be using all the savings that we're having from our income to go straight into investing, just making our money work for us instead of just degrading over time due to inflation. And I also forgot to mention in the last section, before we go any further, in your emergency fund, wherever you keep your emergency fund, make sure it is a high yield savings account. You're going to get anywhere from 3.5 to 5% interest rates, depending on how the interest rate market is at the time. Instead of like 0.1% in a normal checking or savings account, this is a huge game changer. You'll get way bigger payments out at a monthly rate. And this 4% interest rate is what I think is currently at. Is going to just basically preserve your capital even more. So make sure to look into a high yield savings account. I personally use Wealthfront, not affiliated at all. They typically do have FDIC insurance, so anything under $250,000, you are all good to go. And now back to the investing. So this will be where we start to automate our investing into a traditional account, a Roth IRA. If your employer has an account through a 401k, this will probably be the best option if they do have a match program, but you will need to look in that with your employer. I'm really just doing the Roth IRA at this time, just maxing out the 7K contribution limit that it is right now. That is subject to change, and you can see all that on the irs.gov, depending on when you're watching this video, what the limit is that you can contribute. And with the Roth IRA, I'm not going to get too deep on this because I am planning on doing an entire investing video, but this is where our savings are going to start funneling in. So this is going to be like step 2 of why we need to start saving. With that out of the way, we'll go into the how. How do I start saving? So this is really simple. I don't want to overcomplicate this at all. And this is just going to be through a simple budget, either spreadsheet, you can have an app. I'm going to link the budget spreadsheet that I have in the description that I found online that you guys can use as well. It's basically just tracking all of your expenses for like a month or two meticulously. Do not let anything slip through the cracks. Anything that you could possibly have on a recurring basis that you just need to track out, have all your expenses there, and then basically adhere to it pretty strictly. I mean, that's it. What's coming in minus what's going out. That's going to be your savings rate. And now we'll go into how to actually start saving, how to actually start budgeting. This is stupid simple. This is going to be really quick. It's basically just tracking all of your expenses, list that out on a spreadsheet that I will be linking in the description below that I found online, just a random one that I use. It works really well. Track all of your expenses for a month, list them in that spreadsheet, and then basically you're going to have all of these expenses listed out, and you'll start to realize where your money is going. Because a lot of people don't even know where their money is going, and they just kind of just spend discretionally, or mental accounting, or whatever you want to call it. But this is really not something that you should be doing. You should have a hand on your finances so you can take control of your finances, take control of where your money is going. So basically, you're going to list all of your expenses out here on your budget spreadsheet. You're basically just going to adhere to it. And while you're looking at all of your expenses, you might start to see some patterns that you have in your spending that you could be like, oh, I really don't need this. Like any excessive door dashing, any subscriptions that you don't use anymore. This is really, or like I've recently cut back on just spending dumb shit at the grocery store. So anywhere you can kind of cut back, you can start putting more into investments. You can start putting more into maybe monthly principal payments on your house, and just basically having a higher savings rate, building your emergency fund. If you only have 3 months, maybe you want to be a little bit more conservative, take risk off. Me personally, I am very risk adverse. I want to take as much risk as possible since we do have a lot of time that we can spend in the S&P 500, the stock market, crypto, just really looking for these opportunities to cut back expenses so you can start funneling your capital into something that's going to grow over time. That's the basis of wealth creation. That's the basis of just kind of getting a foundation on your finances. This is not going to make you rich overnight at all, but this is just a foundational course that I'm building out here, and this is the budgeting course as a whole. This is the budgeting section of the course. It's really that simple. Please do not overcomplicate this. It does not have to be hard at all. And that's pretty much it. You can use the link in the description for the budgeting spreadsheet I have and go start that as soon as possible, and it's going to make a crazy difference if you're not already doing this. If you like this video, you'll probably like this one too. I thank you so much for watching, and y'all have a good one. Peace.